Hi, I'm Michael Modzelewski. I'm a naturalist and author, and I've worked with Princess Cruises for the past 14 summers here in Alaska. And I feel guilty for getting paid to live my passion. And we're about to go into one of the most spectacular places on the planet, and that is Glacier Bay National Park. So Glacier Bay is the site of a very special happening in geology. It's a clash of the Pacific Plate, and there's many strata of rocks. When geologists go into Glacier Bay, they just scratch their heads because it's almost as if every rock on Earth is found in one place, jumbled together from the movement north of the tectonic plates. And it's also a special place in that it's an ice laboratory. In fact, the Tlingit native people that have lived in Glacier Bay for centuries, they describe the calving or the cracking sound of the glacier as white thunder, because it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a thunder that reverberates through your soul the rest of your life. When the Hoonah Tlingit were actually living in Glacier Bay, which is 65 miles long, they were chased out of there by the Grand Pacific Glacier that we name today. A huge push river of ice actually moved as fast as a dog could run, in the words of the Tlingits themselves. So they had to abandon their villages inside Glacier Bay proper and move outside the bay to where they are now in a town called Hoonah. Had advanced so far during the last mini ice age, and now in present time today it has retreated back 65 miles. So when Captain Vancouver, the European explorers, tried to get into Glacier Bay 300 years ago, at the very entrance of the bay they met with a wall of ice that was about half a mile thick from top to bottom. They couldn't even go in. Greatest examples of ice flow and ice retreat on Earth in Glacier Bay. So it's melted back 65 miles in just the past 3 centuries. And I don't think there's another place on Earth where ice has retreated back so far. Well, the reason why we see so many tidal glaciers in Glacier Bay is snowfall. Along the coastal mountains of Alaska, up to 100 feet of snow can fall. In fact, when we're cruising during the summertime and it's raining at sea level, it can be snowing up at the summits of the mountains that are 15,000 feet tall. So it'll snow year-round here. Summer in Alaska is only a matter of 4 or 5 weeks. In fact, we who live in Alaska, we have a saying that we only have 2 seasons up here, winter and July. So all that snow that falls year-round, it doesn't have time to melt. It doesn't have that many warm days to melt that snowpack. So year after year, that snow keeps piling up. It keeps pressing down. It keeps getting heavier. The snow turns into glaciers. that bulldoze down those mountains with the harsh weight of 1,000 winters accumulated. So it's mainly snowfall here. When you get 100 feet of snow and it doesn't have time to melt with the short summers here, it starts piling up and then it compresses. It takes 13 feet of snowfall to eventually make 1 foot of compressed glacial ice. So we have warm, moist air that comes in from the open Pacific Ocean. As it slams into the coastal mountains here, produces that precipitation, the rainfall and the snow at high altitudes. And then it simply turns into glaciers because there isn't a big melt time here with summer so short. Grand Pacific Glacier, which we call the Dirty Glacier, because it's tired. It kind of ran out of steam after flowing forward 65 miles, pulling back all that way. It's sort of tired, covered in gray, black rock. Marjorie, which is sapphire blue in color, that has Mount Fairweather, the mountain that's 15,000 feet above it. On a clear day you can see it. In fact, it was named Fairweather because if the weather is fair, you see the mountain. So it's interesting to see the contrast between those two glaciers. One that did all the work in there, and one glacier that's younger and fresher and has that blue sparkle to it. In 1986, the United Nations got together and they named it a World Heritage Site, where very few places in the world have that status, meaning that it's a protected place. It's given special attention for travelers, environmentalists, and at 3 million acres, that's how big Glacier Bay is. It's the second largest World Heritage Site outside of Antarctica. It was made a national park, I believe, under the administration of President Calvin Coolidge. Many scientists that came in to study plants, glaciation, they were constantly lobbying the US government to give it park protection, which finally was granted about 80 years ago. And now it is just one of the most special wild places on the earth to see vertical mountains, 15,000 feet, tidewater glaciers grinding up the land, and It's pure magic in there. Ice is blue because of all the colors that are in the light spectrum, all the sunlight colors that enter our atmosphere. Yellows, reds, and greens, and orange, they have very slow wavelengths, and the ice can absorb those colors. It can hold them. But blue, of all the colors in the light spectrum, it vibrates too quick. Its frequency is too high, so the ice can't absorb it. So it bounces or reflects off of the ice and bounces back to our eyes. It's also why the sky is blue. One of my first trips into wilderness Alaska was kayaking up the west arm of Glacier Bay, and I did it in late September. Northern lights at night, all the bushes were red and gold on the hillsides, and we had was fresh snowfall already making its way down the mountains in late September. And I had a very special experience with a grizzly bear. He picked the rock up to his belly, stood waist high, lifted the boulder to his shoulder, and I thought, I'm dead. He's gonna throw that rock on top of the tent. And at the last second, he pivoted with his shoulders and waist, and he flipped that giant boulder onto the beach, and it made an earthquake for about 2 seconds under my tent. It's called a territorial display. With the boulder, he was speaking and saying, hey buddy, no room at the bed and breakfast tonight. And if you don't get out of here in 20 minutes when I come back, you'll be the boulder the next time. So, special encounter with a grizzly bear, Northern Lights that trip, and just to be in there and hear that glacier crack, the white thunder through the night, watch house-sized pieces of ice crack off Marjorie, Grand Pacific. There's no other place like it on Earth.